Hey guys, my top three supporters: Kong Yang, William, Mr. Xiong. How are you guys doing? It's good to have you guys on here. Yep, that's right. W in the house. So it looks like we got some people joining here. Yep, it's going to be some big W's this year. It's all coming. You know, today has just been a great day. Inauguration. I don't know if you guys all had the chance to watch it. Inauguration. Trump now as our president of the U.S. Hi, Ahmad. Thank you for joining. Okay, Kong Yang. Yep, got to do what you got to do, man. Just doing the Trump dance. It's been so long. I mean, it's been, I don't know, since COVID time. But now we got Trump 2.0 back in the building in the White House. Man, this is all great here. Um, I don't know if you guys all watched it, but I was able to hear about it. And I think some people were like trying to like hope for some updates on the executive order on Bitcoin Reserve. But I had a feeling, just based on the decorum, the discussions that were going on, I didn't think that there was going to be anything about Bitcoin being talked about. It was more of focusing on the core problems of the United States, addressing what's real, all of the big issues going on, especially with like immigration, inflation, all of that. So I think that that doesn't stop Trump from executive orders, and he's going to have things go speedy fast. How to build on the economy. I think that's going to be through Bitcoin. So I think it was great to see Bitcoin hitting 109,000. Yeah, like this run up here. I mean, that big mega candlestick from an intraday perspective, it topped out all time highs, 109,000. It's great because now we're going to see, it bypassed that 110K here. I think what we're seeing right now, current price at like 101,000, it's flirting with 102,000. I would very much prefer this, seeing some downward motion here, because as we open up into the market tomorrow with the stock market, I think what goes down from a near-term perspective will pop back up, hopefully. So then coming around 6:30 Western time when the market opens, hopefully we'll see some price action. And most of you are wondering, like, what does this mean for different plays, like with MicroStrategy, with Bitcoin price action, with the miners? It's going to be interesting to see how Mara, Riot, and CleanSpark perform. America is back. Yeah, it's nice for America to be back on the map. We were falling behind, but now I think that things are looking much better. Even though we're not talking politics and all that, but I think that most of us, we all believe that the economy, the stock market will do much better when we have a businessman like Trump running the show here. So, I think the inauguration is the starting point. We're going to start seeing Bitcoin start running up, especially with like all the different coins that were created, right? Like, we had the Trump coin, the Millennia coin, all of those started running up. But now people are beginning to see that it's the entire ecosystem, not just Bitcoin. Of course, Bitcoin is the backbone of the cryptocurrency, but now you have altcoins as well. Now altcoins are going to be more popular because you have all these meme coins being created. So that just shows that altcoin season is here. And what does that mean? Stocks are going to have a big run up. Alessandro Tech. So we have a bear in the building here. So it's going to be interesting because I didn't hear much from Alessandro on Friday, especially when things were just running up here. So Alessandro is a big time shorter, but it's always nice to have opposing viewpoints here. So would love to just get any questions that you guys have here. So we have Sean here, happily long Mar and Iron this week. Renovations. I love your coverage of crypto stocks. Not enough YouTubers focus on it. Yeah, thank you. I mean, I appreciate you guys all joining here. And if you're new, would appreciate the subscribe, like. Um, Looking at Meta Planet here in Japan. Wow. So we got people from, the United States, from international countries here. So thank you all for joining. Really great opportunity with Trump back in the White House here. Now, what does this mean? I think that we're going to see some big crypto stocks are going to have some huge upside here. Price action now. We saw Bitcoin run up this huge candlestick at like 109,000. And now, we see that, that small downward motion, but come 6:30 in the morning tomorrow, we're going to see some huge price action. Once Asia wakes up, they're going to start loading the boat. We're going to start seeing Bitcoin price go up here. Let's also take a look here, just context on how much Bitcoin is left to be mined. So we have about a million Bitcoins, a little over a million Bitcoins left. There's about 19 million Bitcoins, like 2 million of that was lost. But overall, we're at like 94.9% Bitcoins issued. So we only have about, a little over 1 million Bitcoins. It's estimated, according to Satoshi's plan, based on how he designed the whole ecosystem, is that Bitcoin, the last Bitcoin will be mined 2140, so about 120 years from now. Of course, most of us, we won't even be around during that time. But what does that mean? Price of Bitcoin is going to be up in the multiple millions of dollars. So let's say if you were to own a portion of Bitcoin, like a tenth of a Bitcoin or a Bitcoin, so that's 1 over like 20 millions, that will never be diluted. That's the unique thing about Bitcoin as a commodity. It's a digital property. I think eventually Bitcoin is going to bypass gold. Currently, Bitcoin at like $2 trillion. Think about all of the ETFs that are being created right now by like BlackRock. BlackRock creating like IBIT, for example, that really drove up the inflows, the ETFs, even ARK, IBIT, BITX, all these ETFs now that hodl up Bitcoin. So eventually this number here, 1 million, it's going to be much less. What does that mean? I'm sure all of us know what the law of economics is: supply and demand. When the supply decreases, demand is only going to increase. You can't engineer this number here. It's a fixed finite number. That denominator never changes. So global game theory is going to start kicking in now. Once that executive order becomes explicit and it's visible, we're going to start seeing all these countries, states talk more about the strategic Bitcoin reserve here. Yep. So it's interesting to see Bitcoin hitting all-time highs. That's really big news here. So we see that price action, especially with Bitcoin commodity. Of course, MSTR and the miners, for example, they have much more room to rapidly shoot up. So I think there's going to be great opportunity here, just with the stock market. I think what we're seeing is, altcoins are running, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency is running. But what about the stock market? I'm going to tell you, back then when Trump beat Hillary Clinton 2016, the stock market, crypto market had a big run up. We saw all that price action, and I don't think it's going to stop there. I think Trump 2.0 is really going to bring in a big time run up with the stock market here. So thank you all for joining. We're beginning to see more people join here. We have 19 folks here, but I would love to hear what your questions are. So let me just put a Q&A here. Okay, so my first question here. So I think one of the catalysts for tomorrow is, just what will be the price of Bitcoin when the stock market opens tomorrow? That's going to be an interesting one. So let me know what your thoughts are. What the price action of Bitcoin will be as we open up tomorrow. Okay, so hi Christian, thank you for joining. Okay, so we have a question here. So if anyone has a question, I would appreciate you putting a queue similar to what Mr. Seong has done. But Jay, I'll take that question. Best way to trade. So, there's different trading platforms. You could find a different trading platform, but it really depends on your way of investing. Are you a day trader, a swing trader, a long-term investor? I'll cover that, and I'll give you more context on what upside there is. But we'll cover that, Jay, and then you'll be able to see what would be the best course of action here. I wanted to show you on X here. I follow this one person, Plan B. Most of you probably know him, but here is his visual model here. Bitcoin daily stock to flow price. So at the bottom, you see, it's based on time here. So 2025 around here where I have my cursor, you go up. So 2025. So that's like nearly halfway of like 1 million. I'd say that's at around 400K here, 2025, based on the Plan B model here. But as you look into like 2026, that's estimated to be over like 600K there. So there's a lot of sentiment going on, especially with the price of Bitcoin as a commodity here. All right, so we have William, suggesting that it's going to be 106,000. Amid we have 95, 98,000. That's interesting. We'll see, how high or how low it goes. Okay, question from Mr. Siong. When is Trump planning to sign the executive order in the Bitcoin Treasury Reserve? So my take is that we're going to hear something in the next 5 days of trading. I'm thinking we're going to get some updates here. Of course, there's discussions going on with Trump and his team, but I do think that there's already some high level discussions going on. It's just a matter of when they want to announce that information. But I think all of that's already identified. It's just when do they release that information? Whether it's tomorrow, I'd say 30% chance we hear something tomorrow. If not, then I'm saying perhaps 50, 60% by a Wednesday. Okay, so I hope that answers your question there, Mr. Siong. Now, why am I so bullish on having updated information on the executive order is because that's what Trump said. All right, so okay, let me know what your questions are. Would appreciate everyone just putting down a question, and hopefully I can cover it. So, question from Sean: does Iron start to hodl with Bitcoin going up so much? So, Sean, the thing with Iron is that they're focused on scaling up their operations as well because they are a hybrid company. They scaled up their hash rate to the level that no other Bitcoin miner has able to keep up with in terms of month over month improvement. That means they have costs to pay down, right? They don't want to have liabilities. Also, with the AI service revenue, they're bringing in like 0.8 million over a duration of time. But because they acquired all of that technology using NVIDIA chips, they do have some cost expenditures. So rather than, they're selling, their Bitcoins, like recently they mined like over 500 Bitcoins, but they ended up selling the Bitcoin at the price of like 100K. So what they are trying to do is, bring down that cost. and to continue to scale up their operations. But overall, are they going to start hodling Bitcoin? I think that it's really going to be a race now, a race to hodl. You look at the overall number here, hodl amount 1 million Bitcoin left. I think from a long-term perspective, it would just make most probable sense to hodl Bitcoin versus trying to sell things. That's my takeaway. But then again, it's because they have that dual effect going on with being a hybrid company, AI cloud-based service. You're welcome, Mr. Xiong. You know, keep throwing in the questions. Okay, so Christian, is it possible that miners will do a 2 or 3x the price of Bitcoin? Most definitely. I think 2 to 3x is, conservative. I'm thinking we're going to see 3 to 5x. I'm forecasting we may potentially see, Mara, CleanSpark, Riot 2.0 run that we saw like multiple years ago under Trump 2.0, because Trump 1.0, that's when it happened. So why can't it happen under Trump 2.0? And we saw a huge beatdown of these miners. Just taking a look here, and I think this will really give you more of the strategy for Jay here. I think Jay had a question earlier. Should I be day trading this or should I be long trading here? So here I have Riot pulled up, but Riot's overall performance is heavily correlated with Mara and CleanSpark. So what we see with Riot here is basically representative of like any other miner for the most part. So why is looking at seasonality important? It gives us a gauge on whether we see continuous patterns or like trends that we see from a year-to-year perspective. So as we look at 2020 here, you see here close to 1,300% gain. Did the following year have that same performance? No, we don't see any line close by there, right? But the following year is 2021 in green, 35%. Yes, even though it was positive, we saw a big drop off, right, in performance. What happened after 2021 in green here? That's shown in dark purple here, 2022. All of those gains from the red and the green years, the prior years, all of that was lost at 85%. So you basically lost everything there. Price just tanked. But what happened after the price tanking down to 85%? The following year, 2023, we see here, it had a negative correlation, right? Where an underperforming year resulted in a outperforming year at 359% gain. Okay, but what happened after 2023? In red here, we see underperformance of 33%. What we're seeing here so far, even though we've only been in January just with 3 weeks, we see that correlation, right? That negative correlation of like positive upside. So far, we only see 28%, but I think that we're gonna see that blue climb up somewhere in between the red and the purple. I'm thinking that 3 to 5x potential. So somewhere in that middle is my moderate to conservative assessment. So that blue is going to climb up, but seasonality is real. I just wanted to just give you context on that potential. So Christian, to your question, yes. So if you're thinking 2 to 3x, that's somewhere here. That blue, I think it's going to be somewhere up here. That's my overall forecast. Even looking at just yes, of course. I mean, that was an excellent question there. I mean, let's look at the horse race here. I think of this all as like a horse race. So you see here, MSTR, you scale out. I mean, they were like super major horse race winner here, right? From like November like 2024. 2023, 2024, November up through now, all of that months that we're seeing here zoomed out, you see that run up there, 1,000% gain. Okay, but let's start zooming in to the more recent months. Okay, so it's the leading workhorse still, right? but you don't see that green continuing to go up. I mean, it's still up there. There's still that big difference between the miners and MSTR. Doesn't mean that they're not going to slow down. Very well, MSTR can potentially start running up even more. I see $1,200 in the year 2025 as a potential because things are tightening up. I don't see that falling knife anymore with MSTR. But look, you see Riot here. You see CleanSpark in purple. Mara is the candles here. But let's see. Let's see what happens. Okay, October through 2025. MSTR is still in the lead. Okay, based on November data to now, you see here, Riot's neck to neck with MSTR as we zoom in. Riot just bypassed MSTR as we zoom in from like, you know, this mid-December through now. Okay, so you have here Mara neck to neck with MSTR. So Mara's catching up. CleanSpark is right behind. So you have here Riot leading number 1, Mara, number 2, MSTR 3, CleanSpark 4, based on December to January data. So you see here, you know, Riot took charge. CleanSpark is right behind MSTR now. So you see here, there's a lot of back and forth here between these horses in the near term here. So you see here, CleanSpark just bypassed MSTR here. You know, and then that just gives you an overview of the potential between, you know, the rate of return just based on what we're seeing here. So it's a horse race is what I'm getting at. And I think that we're going to see, you know, the fastest horse being in the minors this year. Okay, and then here we have Andre. Do you think Mara, Riot, and CleanSpark get to all-time highs this bull run? And if so, when in 2025? I know Mara and Riot hit over $70 last bull run. So, Andre, what we saw with, you know, altcoins, we saw Ripple, XRP, Stellar Lumens, XLM. We saw Dogecoin dormant for how long? Multiple years, right? But what happened recently? All these things started running up, even in these small cap sectors like, you know, quantum computing. You know, we saw like Soon, SOUN. We saw, you know, other plays like Rumble. All these stocks that had huge performance like 4 or 5 years ago, all of a sudden it went from like 60 cents to like $25. So there's like all these big run-ups. You know, we saw 1.0 in Mara, CleanSpark, and Riot at one point many years ago. Why can't they run up? I think it all depends on the market makers, especially with Trump now in the building. Anything can happen really, and I see that we could, you know, see that 3 to 5x gain. So like William here, he's suggesting that Mara can go like to $200 end of year, but I'm thinking more reasonable. It's more likely to see like $100 gain, but who knows? I might be wrong, and William might be right. So, so that's funny. Andre and William here, based on just, you know, different price forecasting here. So Trump will not pump Bitcoin before he accumulates. I don't think he wants to pump it before the HODL. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see how high it goes. But you know what? Key thing is hopefully we see it in the positive territory. All right, so let's take a look at price of Bitcoin here. So it ran up to 109K all-time high today, and now it's at 101,000. Let's take a look at just overall cryptocurrencies here. So Solana is taking a pullback here, 237. The Trump coin here, let's take a look at the Trump coin, $34. Okay, so dropped off by like half of the price of, you know, the all-time highs under the official Trump. But I think this is good. Hopefully we see some run-ups in the morning with Bitcoin. I like Williams' prediction going up to 106K. Taking a look at MSTR, most of you are wondering, like, is MSTR a good buy? You know, MSTR, their branding is like, you can't get any better than having a CEO like Michael Saylor, who has direct involvement with the government. He works with the Trump administration. Uh, he has the backing from like the Trump administration, and because he gets the buy-in from shareholders, he's able to get convertible notes to buy up more Bitcoin. That's why we see so many green tennis dots here, right? That doesn't mean that he's going to stop. He's going to continue to hodl up Bitcoin. We see it's a race right now. Like MSTR is like leading BlackRock when it comes to hodling up Bitcoin. So IBIT is like, 66% of the total hodl of MSTR under Michael Saylor, but that doesn't mean that BlackRock's going to stop. They're going to continue to hodl, and Michael Saylor will continue to hodl. I think come near term in 2025, we may hear more buying from like Mara and Riot, because it's really a race right now to get the most amount of Bitcoin on their balance sheet. I think what people are not really seeing is, under Trump, we're going to see some big time price action, at least in the next couple of weeks. I think we're going to see some big upsides coming here. So Andre, thank you. Yes, I appreciate the comment there. Really loving all your videos on Bitcoin miners. Yep, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for stopping by. Yeah, I mean, think about it. Trump has money in crypto. I mean, now you can donate to, the administration using cryptocurrency. Melania, she created her meme coin. They're making money off of all this. So we know that they're only going to support something that they're invested in. And anything that Trump touches, man, it's like gold. So I think now one thing to keep in mind is that, we're in the golden era here under this man here. He's making history. So the very first pro Bitcoin US president is here to stay. You know, this is a big milestone, inauguration day 2025, where we're going to clean up, the big problems in the US, and we're going to make big things happen. And I think under Trump, we're going to see the stock market roar. The small cap ETFs, the mid cap ETFs are going to outperform S&P 500. And what does that mean? We're going to see some big time price action. I think Riot, Mara, CleanSpark, we're going to see some 3 to 5x potential. It's going to be coming. So, I hope that we all have an investment in play, because this is really going to be some big run up. Thank you, Andre. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. You watching it every night. Um, you know, it's you guys that really make me want to continue to do this. So it makes it fun. I enjoy it. Continue researching, and we can celebrate together. But yep, what are your questions? So let me know what your thoughts are. Down below. You know, do we see some huge upside next week or this week? What are your thoughts here? All right, so Bitcoin here, we're seeing some slight pullback here at 100K. Hopefully, man, we see this start going back up, at least, towards the later phase here. So huge volatility here, like from 99K and then to blasting off to 109K. Hopefully, we start seeing, some price action for it to go back up. And interesting, El Salvador just added more Bitcoin to their treasury. They're not slowing down anytime soon. Trump being sworn in today, I think there's going to be a lot of run-ups. Who knows? Like, what if these crypto stocks start taking off even more, and then people from the crypto market starts flowing back into the stock market? So we don't know. All of this is going to be a push and pull. So let's take a look at the overnight trading here. So according to Justin, price action right now, um, we see some red right now on the aftermarket. But I think that all of that's going to change. I think what the shorters are doing right now is taking advantage of this slight pullback here that we're seeing at 100K from 109. So that's like a 9% drop. So I think shorters are trying to take advantage of that. And it's just a temporary hiccup, short-term hiccup that we're seeing. But I'm not too worried. I think that we're going to see some upward in the morning. But thank you, Justin, for sharing that from St. Louis. Yep. So William is right. I mean, all these reactionary things going on here. People, they're just the market makers are just shaking out the people who can't really, you know, um, handle the stress with the volatility. But I think the shorting will continue. But even if it goes down, and if you like the price, take advantage of that. Dollar cost average down. We're going to see that 2.0 run up potentially. 3 to 5x is what I'm thinking. So, Mr. Siong, will Bitcoin's price action be different this cycle? In the past, it would be positive 3 years followed by one big negative year. So yes, you're right. So that big negative year was 2022. We saw just that, that high of like 70,000, mid 70,000 to like 18,000. Of course, that was a time when ETFs weren't around yet and all that. Of course, I think that volatility is going to be a lot less. It won't drop as much as what we saw before, but because there's stability there, we may not see the type of run-ups that we saw previously from like 18K to like 75K. That's like 3x. So if you look at 70K, 3x, that's like 210K. Keep in mind that we had to retest back into that 70K range back in like April timeframe, and it was just until November timeframe when we went 30% from 70K up to all-time highs of 100K. But I think that in 2025, based on price forecast analysts, it's suggested that we're gonna get to that 200K. Who knows? I might be wrong. Will it be 130K? Will it be 180K? But I think that there's going to be some global game theory action happening. Again, we look at Bitcoin here. 1 million left to mine. You apply the law of economics. Bitcoin is only going up from here from a zoomed out perspective. That's one thing to keep in mind. And the Bitcoin daily stock to flow price, we have 2025 estimated here somewhere around like 300K here based on plan B model here. So JDan here, so 3 to 5x within 2025. So that's my belief. I might be wrong, but I think that because we see huge underperformance in the year 2024, and because we've seen even 13x here at one point in 2023, we saw 3.5x. It's very possible that we can see these types of numbers under Trump. Okay, because under Trump, sometime around that 2020 zone, we had Trump around that time as well. So now that Trump is entering, we can see some flourishing with these share price. One thing that we should be mindful about. All right. Well, I mean, today was such great news. Okay, so it looks like, we're seeing some, some overnight trading here. Yes, like Riot, for example, the night trading is minus 1.4%. So all of that's just small changes. Bitcoin price, I think, is going to go up. I like Williams forecasting for the morning when the stock market opens. I think we're gonna see at around 106 K seems reasonable. 106 seems like a right assessment. We see here this big drop off here, but we see some healthy, upward motion here. So let's see how things look in the morning tomorrow. I think it's going to be interesting to see how things behave, especially with price of Bitcoin. I think there's going to be a lot of volatility, like mega green candles potentially. Once the market opens tomorrow. All right, so we have Kong Yang here. Question: can Trump sign an executive order to Bitcoin on our treasury, or will it need to pass Congress too? That's a great question. So I think under Trump, in fact, I don't have an answer to that question, but I think that what can happen is he can publicly announce the executive order, and it may need to go through like that, the approval process through Congress. But I don't know whether Congress has to approve that or not, because that might be an executive order, like under legislative. I don't think that falls under the legislation where Congress has to get involved. But I might be wrong, but that might be an executive order responsibility. He's the man in the White House. He makes the calls, so I think he has that power and authority to make that happen. But that's definitely a great question, Kong. His voice basically has the say in whether things get approved or not. You look at SEC, Gary, he got thrown out. So with that, with the changes in the SEC, with the administration changes with different leadership, I don't think that there's going to be a denial of the executive order. So we hear about Pennsylvania, Texas, Missouri. Now we're also hearing about Meta. Meta. One thing that most people aren't realizing is like the CEO, Mark Zuckerberg. Take a look at all of the things that he's doing. I mean, he's been attending to UFC events. Trump's always like at the main UFC events. And what's happening now? Meta is even considering buying Bitcoin as well. So what does that mean? Meta, he's partnering up with like Joe Rogan, Dana White, Donald Trump, because he's trying to be part of that ecosystem. And he knows that the future is going to be Bitcoin, and that's really going to allow for these small time companies. I mean, not too small, like Mara, Riot, CleanSpark. They have the advantage here. You don't see like these CEOs of like Riot, Mara, CleanSpark getting a lot of public view similar to like MSTR. Of course, granted, the price, everyone loves MSTR, but that doesn't mean that the rate of returns for these top three miners here, it can't perform to that level that we saw with MicroStrategy. I think for MicroStrategy, what we saw with the price action, up here it was like 550, it got down to 280. We're beginning to see that V shape come back up. I think it's going to retest that 550 sometime in February or even earlier. But for the miners, I think we're going to see some lovely gains here. Okay, so the rainbow chart, yes. let's take a look at the rainbow chart here. So thank you, Kong Yang, for bringing that up. So what we saw here, so basically, 2022 was like basically a fire sale, when the price of Bitcoin dropped down to like 18,000. We're in that accumulate phase. Next phase is that light green, still cheap. And then after that, it'll be HODL. And then is this the bubble orange? And then darker orange, FOMO. And then sell, maximum territory. So we haven't seen that peak yet. So with Trump also in town, it's going to be a huge catalyst here. Yeah, Kong knows very well all this because, I always start with the rainbow chart here just to see updates. But think about the halving event here. It's important to see the halving events because you look at the last halving event, it took, some time for it to reach that max. But then we're about to see some catalyst run up if we base it off of the prior historical event. But you go back to 2017, having it took more time here, right? You see that duration before the peak. So I think we're going to start seeing some upward motion here into the yellow and the orange zone here with the rainbow chart. Let's take a look at where we are with Bitcoin, 101,000. All right, so I'm getting, a little tired here, getting some brain fog, but perhaps I can, get 3 more questions, and the first 3 questions that get asked, I will definitely answer that, and then we can call it a night after those 3 questions. So, what first question does anyone have? You can put it in the chat. So Christian, am I still bullish with Bitfarms? I'm going to say I am definitely bullish with Bitfarms. Let's take a look at Bitfarms. We're not really talking much about Bitfarms here, right? But looking at Bitfarms, I mean, of course, you can't compare Bitfarms to like, the big time miners, for example. Because, they're a much smaller company. I mean, they mine about 200 Bitcoins per month. But just based on technicals, what did we see with Bitfarms? I mean, you don't have to be like an expert at this, but just looking at that prior retest back in February of last year. So we see here, what are we seeing? Higher highs. But I don't think that we're going to continue seeing it being this low. It could very well start retesting, at least I think in Q1. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that bounce back into the above $3 zone, at least for Bitfarms. I mean, their fleet efficiency got down to like 20 joules per terahash. They're consistently mining over like 200 Bitcoins. Of course, their HODL is like, very small. They don't have even like much HODL at all. But just overall, because of the price, extremely undervalued at $1.68. So Andre here, okay, so the next question. So what is your miner portfolio and allocation? So all I'm going to say is that I'm allocated across, various plays, but it's the big 3 miners. you have, Riot, Mara, CleanSpark. So that's basically how I have my funds dispersed. So hopefully that answers William's question as well. All right. Well, I think that covers, the questions here. But, again, I typically don't make, lives during the weekdays, but I felt like today was a great opportunity with, Trump's inauguration. Just keep in mind that this is a start for 2025. I think is going to be an excellent year. We're like in this realm of uncertainty right now, just wondering like, okay, so what's going to happen, with price of Bitcoin. It went up to 109K today, but it's dropping to 100K. How is the market going to react tomorrow? I think that we're going to see good price action. Even if it doesn't come, I wouldn't worry, because we're going to see short squeeze 2.0 coming under Trump MAGA 2.0. So I just wanted to thank you all for joining. You know, thank you for all the support and the questions in this live session. We'll do it again. Okay, so I appreciate you guys all, coming here with questions and just sharing your updates. But thank you all, and we'll do this again. Take care, guys. 1 year out. You're right, Xiong. Yep. Thank you, Christian, William, Andre, Kong Yang. Yep. Of course. I mean, we're all doing great work here. So um, let's get at it. 2025 under Trump 2.0. Let's go. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Vic. Okay. You guys take care. Goodbye.